In a way, today marked the beginning of the end, the start, perhaps, of some healing. For the friends, the sisters, the brothers, the mother who hasn't said a word. She doesn't have to. The grief is carved on her face. In court, Bruce McArthur sat expressionless as Justice John McMahon read out his reasons for sentencing. His words often scathing. He called McArthur morally bankrupt, a sexual predator and killer who lured his victims on the pretext of consensual sex and killing them for his own warped and sick gratification. The men, the judge says, died a slow and painful death, were staged in perverse and degrading fashions, then photographed, only to face even more indignity in McArthur's hands. The ability to decapitate and dismember his victims, and do it repeatedly, the judge says, is pure evil. And yet, by pleading guilty to murdering the 8 men, the judge pointed out McArthur spared their families the nightmare of a graphic trial, and the killer's age was also a mitigating factor. In what came down to a symbolic decision, the judge ordered McArthur serve his sentences concurrently, or all at once. If he's still alive, McArthur will be 91 when he can apply for parole in 25 years, and the judge says his chances of parole are remote at best. The Crown wanted McArthur sentenced to 50 years without parole. It didn't comment today, but in a statement called the crime one of stark horror, one that offers no closure. Few family members spoke later, as if defeated by it all. Among them, a mother whose family says can't stop crying. Her husband died of a heart attack after they found out what happened to their son.
They lost their son, they lost their husband and brother. They didn't get anything.
I don't think he deserves what he got. I think he deserves a lot more harsh of a sentence.
This woman knew 3 of the victims and says the sentence doesn't amount to justice.
I don't think that's enough comfort for the families or the community or the people that he's killed. I think that, if you're going to do a maximum crime, you deserve the maximum sentence, which is life times 8.
As for police,
it's still a life sentence. The only difference is the parole eligibility. And as Justice McMahon said, he can't imagine a parole board ever letting Mr. McArthur out, even if by some fluke he lives to the age of 91. We don't expect to see Mr. McArthur in public again. We're satisfied with the sentence. Yes, we are.
And with the ending it brings, at least for now.
We were in the courts for years sometimes with a basic murder case. So to have one where someone's charged with 8 murders conclude within 13 months of the arrest, it's fulfilling. It's nice that it is done. This investigation is far from done, so it's not done in that aspect, but it is nice to have the court process done.
What do you mean it's not done? What else?
Like I've mentioned before, we will continue to look at any connection that Bruce McArthur has to anybody, missing persons, we've looked at cold cases.
So, Joanna, cold cases are still being reviewed, but what else is missing in all this?
The big question is why? Why did Bruce McArthur go after these men? Why did he start killing? And police don't want to get into the details, but they've had conversations with McArthur and they plan to have more. And presumably that's to fill in some of the remaining blanks in their investigation. There's still holes as to how he executed his crimes and where they actually all happened. And also for the families. The families have a lot of questions and many of them are still very much stuck in this nightmare, and knowing why offers them some form of closure.
Okay, thanks very much, Joanna.
You're welcome.